In a pennant chase that requires perfection, the Rangers had a near perfect weekend. And while that was pretty good might not be good enough from here on out.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about these little rascals doing it again on Friday night. The Rangers taking 2 out of 3, but should have swept this weekend. Jacob deGrom's return to Citi Field, and of course, a big picture look at just what the heck's going on for the last 2 weeks of this season. Before we get to all that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Now, the Little Rascals took 2 out of 3 against this Mets squad that was just absolutely reeling heading into this weekend, and when they had a chance to sweep, they just did not quite come up good enough in that final game. Several chances to win it, but hey, they took 2 out of 3. They took care of business. They did not lose any ground against the Houston Astros in the chase for that third wild card spot. They did lose some ground in the AL West chase because those stupid Angels can't do anything helpful for the Rangers this season. Oh my goodness. I think the team I am most furious at right now is those Angels, who couldn't win a single game of the 4 that they played against the Seattle Mariners. But shout out to the Atlanta Braves, who did a number on Framber Valdez on Sunday, keeping the Rangers just 2 games behind that final wild card spot, with a chance to tie up that tiebreaker and win it with just 1 win of 3 in this series against Houston this weekend. We'll talk about that in the third segment, but I want to talk about this weekend and the Little Rascals really just blowing this game open on Friday. This was a little bit closer than it probably should have been when you get 6 runs in the top of the first inning, thanks to an egregious bad missed call by umpires, which for the whole weekend, it was just a lot of bad umpiring both directions. I think the Rangers got the short end of the stick on a Friday and Sunday, but they really got the good end of the stick on Saturday in a game that they won, where Patrick Corbin got quite a few more calls than I think he probably deserved. But Michael Hellman, after getting what should have been called ball 4, called strike 2, laces a 2 RBI double to finish off Jonah Tong. He doesn't even make it through that first inning. I feel bad for the kid. I mean, he had some decent stuff, but just really got on his heels and didn't have command of that fastball. And the Rangers rallied with 2 outs to score all 6 of those runs with 2 outs in the inning. He got Wyatt Langford out. He got Jake Berger out in that one. And those are the only 2 batters that he was able to finish off in that one. And with Jacob deGrom's take to a 6-0 lead, he pitched 7 whole innings in that one, only struck out 2, was able to, because of those 7 innings, become an official qualifier for the ERA title. His ERA, after 28 starts so far this season in 162 and 2/3 innings, sits at 282. That is fantastic. The amount of innings that he has already pitched this season is more than the Rangers were hoping for or targeting for at this point in the season. But they need every pitch they can get from Jacob deGrom's golden arm. He's got 2 more starts left in the regular season. I am assuming he is slated to start in the final game of this series against the Houston Astros, which is going to be absolutely massive. But what an incredible performance from Jacob deGrom after rallying. I mean, he got into some trouble. He was aggressive early on in this game, only needing 6 pitches to get those 3 outs in the bottom of the first inning after his team spotted him to a 6-0 lead. Only needed a few more pitches to get through the bottom of the second inning, but then got himself into a little bit of trouble. In the end, he only allowed 3 runs, only 4 hits in this one. A couple of those came in on sac flies. One of them was a solo homer from Francisco Alvarez. But he was just dominating in this one. 88 pitches to get through 7 innings to save this bullpen a little bit. Would have rather been more conservative with the bullpen with a 5-run lead against a Mets team that was just absolutely reeling at that point. But I get going for the win because you need every single win from now until the end of time. I mean, this was just such a team effort. That whole first inning, just incredible at bat after incredible at bat after incredible at bat. I mean, Cody Freeman with a couple RBIs in that one. I mean, Jonah Heim just passing the baton and working a walk. Alejandro Ozuna sitting on a first pitch right down the middle, which normally the scouting report has been you can get strike one on him very easily. Just throw a single pitch right down the middle, and he's going to take it pretty much every time. And he didn't that time. And Josh Jung driving in a run in that one. Dylan Moore coming in with a big pinch hit 2-run homer against a lefty to just give the momentum back to the Rangers. At that point, they had kind of squandered it a little bit. It felt a little bit more back and forth after that 3-run inning by the Mets. It felt like it was very much anyone's game. But the Rangers said, nah, it's fine. We've got this. And this was a great weekend for the most part for Josh Smith. A multi-hit day in the game on Friday. Also worked a walk. He was on base 3 out of 5 times that he was up at the plate. I also had a pretty solid day in the win on Saturday. A multi-hit day. He has been in a really rough funk as of late, and getting him going at the top of this lineup is absolutely massive for this Ranger squad. He reached base in all 3 games in this one. Had a little bit of a bugaboo late on in the game on Sunday, but did reach base and score a run with a walk in the game on Sunday. But it just wasn't quite enough in that Sunday game. But this team rallying in that Saturday game and just putting it on the Mets in the Friday game. I mean, this was an offense that was absolutely rolling heading into this weekend, and they just keep on stacking up win after win after win. But there have been a little bit of problems with this offense this weekend, problems that we had seen all season long that you'd hope had kind of gone into remission a little bit. But the Rangers went 4 for 6 with runners in scoring position on Friday in this first game of the series. And after that, they went 0 for 8 in the game and 3 for 27 from that point on through the end of this weekend. That is a problem that absolutely needs to be curtailed. It needs to be fixed. These could have been 3 blowout wins for the Rangers. It really could have been. The Rangers end up losing in 10 innings on Sunday. They went 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position and left 10 men on base twice late on. They had a chance to add on just one more run that would have sealed the deal and finished off a sweep. And the Rangers would be one game out of that final playoff spot right now, had they done that, and just 2 out of the lead for the AL West, which ultimately would be 3 because the Rangers are trailing the Seattle Mariners and have lost that tiebreaker and do not have a chance to make up for it. But the Rangers have a chance, a big chance this week, and from now until the end of this season to continue to stack up quality wins against mostly teams from now until the end of the season. At least half the teams they're playing are not fighting for anything. But this was great pitching performance, not just by Jacob deGrom, but from Patrick Corbin. Went 4 1/3 innings, only 1 unearned run in this one, 5 strikeouts, just 2 walks. Another quality performance for him in this one. The bullpen really did its job this whole weekend for the most part, outside of a tough outing for Luis Crivello, allowing that walk-off 3-run homer to Pete Alonso on a pitch that was just a little bit too far over the middle of the plate and not exactly where he wanted that pitch by any means. The Rangers also dealt with a little bit of bad injury news this weekend, which could end up being mitigated with a little bit of Botox. We're talking about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can use it on all kinds of different things, whether it's the NFL, whether it's college football, or the MLB playoff chase. Right now, the AL West leaders, the Seattle Mariners, they are favored at -210 to win the American League West, despite a big series that's coming up this weekend between Houston and Seattle. The Astros plus 175 to win the AL West, and the Rangers all the way down there at plus 1800 to win this AL West. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. This show is also brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the daily fantasy app where making the right pick can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, the right pick means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can take your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's honestly my favorite way to follow along with football. I love checking projections like Josh Allen more or less than 270 passing yards or Saquon Barkley more or less than 1 rushing touchdown. They've also got lines like Dak Prescott more or less passing yards as well. This week's max discounts also include Lamar Jackson, this week's include Patrick Mahomes more or less than 0.5 passing yards. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, we'll be back and talk about the first game of this series, this massive playoff implication, heck, just playoff feel caliber of a series against the Houston Astros with Jack Leiter on the hill, coming off of an up and down last start, but he has been nails as of late. Whatever happens in that game, I'll be back and talking about all the implications and so much scoreboard watching from now until the end of this season, because the Texas Rangers, they have just 12 games left. So every game at this point feels like a must win. And the Rangers offense coming back, not just once, but nearly, it did come back twice. Couldn't finish off the comeback on Sunday, but getting to one of the best closers in baseball in Edwin Diaz twice. He got hit with the L on Saturday's game and got hit with a blown save on Sunday's game. The Rangers coming back against one of the tougher guys in all of baseball. Excuse me. They didn't come back against him on Sunday. They almost got to him on Sunday. They should have got to him on Sunday. I misremembered exactly what's been going on with Edwin Diaz and with this Rangers squad. I mean, Brandon Sproat was absolutely fantastic against the Rangers, 6 shutout innings on Saturday and really more than matched Patrick Corbin. But the Rangers bullpen held on for the most part. The only run that they gave up was a solo shot by Hobie Milner in that game on Saturday. Chris Martin left the game with, we don't know exactly what that was. It was listed as arm fatigue, and then later on, it might end up being fixed with Botox. He has been dealing with some injuries that are kind of consistent with TOS, thoracic outlet syndrome. Basically, it can be the Botox can alleviate some of those paralyzing effects. It is a shoulder injury, but it is possible that he can get this shot and then just feel better, because eventually it leads to some tingling in the outer extremities. So after a certain pitch count, he said he was feeling just a lot of numbness in the end of his hand, which you could tell after he was taken off the mound that he was just so incredibly frustrated. Just got back from that calf injury. He's already had 2 stints on the IL at this point, and if the Rangers had to put him back on the IL, he's done for the year and probably his career. Heading into this season, Chris Martin said that this is probably going to be his last year. He's 39 years old. It has been a frustrating season. He missed some time with some shoulder fatigue and a strained calf earlier this year. He just got back from that, and he is such an important part of this Rangers bullpen. They really, really need Chris Martin back in this pen, because they've used a lot of their leverage guys very frequently as of late. I mean, using Deshaun Armstrong in a game that you lose, that is a tough spot, especially since Armstrong pitched in back-to-back days at this point. I don't think we see him in this first game against Houston. Hopefully, the Rangers can just unload a can of whooping on these Astros in every single game and not have to worry about using their high-leverage guys. And also maybe the starter just goes super deep into games and everything is just hunky-dory. I think on Wednesday's game, no matter what, I feel like 5 innings might be the max for Jacob deGrom. Maybe 6, just because at this point, deGrom is already at over 160 innings, which was the end date target for him for the entirety of the season. He'll end up making if he stays healthy, if he makes his next start and the start after that, then he will be lined up for a postseason start perfectly if the Rangers are in that wild card series, which it looks like almost assuredly, no matter what happens, the Rangers are going to end up in that spot. Even if they win the AL West, which doesn't seem the most likely at this point, they're not going to pass either the Tigers or the Blue Jays for the best record or one of the two best records in the American League and get that bye in the first round. But the Rangers need every single inning that they can get from all of these guys, every single bit of a high leverage reliever. Throwing Shawn Armstrong out there twice in back-to-back days after getting a couple of days off, thankfully on Thursday with the off day and on Friday with the Rangers having enough of a lead. Phil Maton has pitched quite a bit over the last couple of days. Robert Garcia has worked himself back into a reliable back-end guy that I pretty much not quite fully trust, but trust deeply enough. Phil Maton has been used a whole lot as of late. We could see Danny Coulomb coming back, I think, as early as today. He pitched a perfect inning in a rehab outing for Frisco this weekend and looked pretty solid, had a strikeout and got a couple of other outs in that one. We could see him returning to this bullpen fairly soon. I don't know who would be the roster casualty at that point. Maybe the Rangers will end up sending down Luis Carvello. I don't know if that's going to be the move at this point because the Rangers still do need that long reliever, and it's not Caleb Bosley at this point. But I think that adding another leverage arm in Coulomb, if they can keep Chris Martin healthy and they can have, 4 guys that they pretty much trust in high leverage spots. I mean, Phil Maton is definitely incredibly trustworthy. Shawn Armstrong is the surefire, no doubt closer at this point. Robert Garcia has kind of worked himself back into that tree of trust. That's 3 guys right there. You add back Coulomb. If you trust him in a high leverage spot, that's 4. Then if you still have a healthy Chris Martin, that is 5 guys that you trust in high leverage spots. And if Jacob Latz goes back into the bullpen, that's maybe 6. You throw in a Hobie Milner, maybe Jacob Webb. Jacob Webb is kind of borderline at that point. You're looking at 7 guys, which the Rangers are going to need every single one of these arms to be trustworthy and good in all of these high leverage spots. Jacob Webb is kind of in the half trust. I definitely trust him on the B side situation if the Rangers are down 1 run to kind of keep it to a 1-run game. At that point, I don't want to really see Jacob Webb in, a save situation in the bottom of the 9th inning, coming in there with a 1-run lead. I don't know that I'd feel super duper comfortable with Webb at that point, but he has been a more than serviceable reliever for the Rangers at this point. He's just had a little bit of problems with the home run ball and a homer and a half per 9 innings this year. Not exactly ideal. But and even Hobie Milner has really struggled as of late. Not the last couple of games, he's kind of worked himself back into that tree of trust. Basically, in the last week, in those couple outings against the Brewers, in a big spot, he worked himself back into that kind of trustworthy tree after 3 or 4 outings where he just could not get a single batter out. But the Rangers are going to need a lot from this offense, and they're getting some reinforcements back. They already have Adolis Garcia back. He returned on Sunday. Not the best offensive game, but a really good defensive game for him. Jacob Latz was able to go 4 2/3 innings in that game on Sunday, and had things gone just a little bit differently here or there, the Rangers are talking about a sweep. It probably should have been a sweep, and Latz really got himself into a lot of trouble with the walks. I mean, 4 walks in 4 2/3 innings. He only allowed a couple of hits. He did strike out 4, including a couple of really nice strikeouts, including one of Juan Soto, where Juan Soto just looked absolutely flummoxed against Jacob Latz. But again, you need a little bit more length from your starters, especially in every win from now until the end of the season. All 12 games, there are just 12 games remaining. They are all absolutely must win. You need every single piece of this roster thriving and running on all cylinders, especially these 3 games head to head against a team that you are directly chasing in this postseason chase. And the Seattle Mariners just looked unstoppable as of late. Maybe they'll run into a team that they are actually going to have to put up a fight with because the team actually cares about something, because they're actually good and they're not just the Cardinals or the Angels. But at this point on, the Rangers have themselves a legitimately terrifying, exciting, just thrilling postseason chase. We're going to break it down what's left to watch in the next 12 games, and what do the Rangers need to do this week against these Houston Astros? We'll talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there, it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair supplement growth brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement that is clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. I started noticing less shedding and healthier looking hair after using Nutrafol. Whether you're at work, out with friends, or just getting ready in the morning, Nutrafol gives you that more confidence in your daily routine. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. After every single game, Jeff Biggs is with you with a Locked On Rangers postcast, reacting live to all 12 games left and maybe, if we're lucky, even some postseason games in your Locked On Rangers podcast feeds on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Now, this Rangers squad has been rolling as of late. They had an impressive winning streak, including with a sweep of the MLB best Milwaukee Brewers. In the middle of that winning streak, the Rangers may have had a 7-game winning streak heading into this weekend series, midweek series against the Houston Astros. They are 16-5 in their last 21 games. That is an incredibly impressive span. They were 15-5 in the last 20, or 16-4 in their last 20 games, but alas, they are heading into this series on a loss, and this is just such an incredibly massive, it cannot be overstated how big of a series this is. Although the Rangers just need one win, just one single solitary win in this series to take home the tiebreaker in this season series and win their first Silver Boot Series regular season edition, because the Rangers have won the only postseason edition of the Silver Boot Series in 2023 when they beat the Houston Astros to go on and win their first ever World Series championship and have as many legitimate championships as the Houston Astros do. But this Rangers squad would very much like to win not just one game, but all 3 games of this series. The pitching matchups, as of right now, it is Jack Leiter versus, I believe it's Tyler Alexander on Monday's game. There's Merrill Kelly versus the vaunted TBD on Tuesday's game. And then Jacob deGrom versus, TBD is going back-to-back days. That's going to be a tough start for TBD on Wednesday to bounce back after making a starting role on Tuesday. But the Rangers are not going to face Framber Valdez unless the Astros throw him on 2 days rest. That would be insane. I don't think they're going to see Hunter Brown because I'm pretty sure Hunter Brown pitched on Saturday. That would make him pitching on short rest if he pitches on Wednesday's game at the very earliest. They have not listed their starters at this point. Luis Garcia just landed back on the IL after missing 2 years with Tommy John surgery, coming back, making, I believe, 3 or 4 starts, looking pretty good in the first couple of starts, and then last week ended up back on the IL. Lance McCullers Jr. also landed back on the IL. He was already out of the rotation in the bullpen. So that is 2 starters that are already down from the many starters that the Astros have been down over the course of this year. You're not going to find the Rangers feeling sorry for them and their pitching injuries or really any injuries at this point. The Rangers team has been dealing with a lot of injuries. Thankfully, Luis Garcia will be back, and he dominates the Houston Astros. And so we could end up seeing maybe JP France make a start in this series. We could see more of a bullpen day from this Astros squad. But the Rangers have their 3 best guys going. These are their 3 best starters at this point, not necessarily the order that you would line up for a 3-game playoff series, but should the Rangers get into a point where if they win the AL West and the Astros are holding that final spot. This is what this postseason series would look like. The Rangers would have Jack Leiter on the mound. They would have Merrill Kelly on the mound. They would have Jacob deGrom on the mound for one of those starts. And this is exactly what you hope for. This is exactly what the Rangers were hoping for when they lined up their rotation. The last time that they made some tweaks to this rotation, this was how they had it in mind. Jack Leiter has been incredible as of late, and the Rangers need him to be incredible yet again. Merrill Kelly has really bounced back after a pretty tough first couple of starts, but he has looked so much better as of late. They need him to be the awesome version of Merrill Kelly that we have seen, the guy who is so strong mentally in his last game out there, allowing back-to-back solo shots before his team even stepped into the box. And he said, nah, we're good. We're going to continue to rattle off this win streak and keep on beating even the best team in baseball. And right now, the Astros are not the best team in baseball. They are pretty far removed from being the best team in baseball. They have had so many injuries to their pitching staff. They have had a lot of injuries to their offense. Heck, they even just had an injury to Jose Altuve, who is dealing with some, I believe, foot soreness. I don't know if we'll see him in this game or in any of these games this week, which makes me feel pretty darn good, pretty confident. We're not going to see Isaac Paredes. He's out for the season. Brendan Rodgers, Luis Garcia, Hayden Wesneski, Josh Hader is still out at this point. Spencer Arrighetti is on the IL. Caleb Ort, a pretty important reliever for them, as well as Bennett Sousa, two fairly important relievers who are on the IL for them. It has just been a parade of injuries for these Houston Astros. And there's only so much that you can suffer. There's only so many injuries that you can suffer. And the Astros may have suffered as many as they possibly can. Yordan Alvarez was really bad at the first part of the season. He has been back for the last 2-3 weeks, and he has looked pretty much like Yordan Alvarez. So I would imagine we'll see a lot of pitching around Yordan Alvarez at this point. Jeremy Pena has kind of fallen off a little bit in that second half. Cam Smith has not been nearly as good in the second half. Christian Walker has been a lot better than he was early on in the season. I mean, a really tough start to his Astros tenure, which you hate to see. And just all up and down this line, there's just not as many threats as there have been in years past. So this is an absolutely winnable series. The Rangers probably already should have wrapped up this season series, at least the tiebreaker. At this point, there were several winnable games the Rangers had in that, not only that game that they lost in Houston on Saturday before the All-Star break, in a game where Jacob deGrom pitched brilliantly, and the Rangers just could not quite take advantage of their chances, went to extra innings and lost that one. There were a couple of games in that first 4-game series that the Rangers played the Astros where the Rangers probably could have taken all 4 in that series and had this season series wrapped up by, well, that last 3-game series the Rangers played in Arlington. But alas, that's not the case. But the Rangers have 12 games remaining, and I'm looking at 4 different teams as well as the Rangers and all of their schedules. Right now, the Rangers have these 3 games in Houston. They've got 3 games against the Marlins, 3 games against the Twins, all of those 6 middle games at home, and then finish the season with 3 games on the road in Cleveland. The Rangers are now just half a game above the Cleveland Guardians for the first team out of that 3rd wildcard spot. The Astros, their remaining schedule is a bit of a mixed bag. It's a really tough week, and then it finishes not being quite as tough. The Rangers have these 3 games at home against Texas, and they have 3 games this weekend against the Seattle Mariners. That season series tiebreaker has not been decided either. Whoever wins that series between Seattle and Houston, that is who is going to have the tiebreaker. That is going to be a very, very important tiebreaker. And then the Astros finish it with 3 games in West Sacramento against the A's, and then 3 games on the road against the Angels. Maybe those final 3 games, the Angels can actually help the Rangers out and beat the Astros in some of them, but who knows? At this point, the Seattle Mariners, they've got 3 games this week starting against Kansas City. Then they have the 3-game series in Houston, followed up by 3 games at home against the MLB worst Colorado Rockies. That's not ideal for a team that is chasing the Seattle Mariners. And then they finish the season with 3 games against the Los Angeles Dodgers, who I'm pretty sure will still be playing for at least playoff seeding at that point. And even if they're not, it's still the freaking Dodgers. So probably going to be some tough games for Seattle. Then there's Boston. The Rangers are 3 games behind Boston for that second wild card spot. The Rangers have the season tiebreaker over Boston. So you've got to also keep an eye on the Boston Red Sox, not just the other teams in this AL West chase, but Boston has 3 games against the A's at home, then 3 on the road at Tampa Bay, 3 games on the road against Toronto, and then 3 games against Detroit. Those are all going to be some very, very difficult games for them. I mean, the A's, while they're not a good team, they are a very, very good offense, and a couple of games here or there in the A's popping off. And Nick Kurtz, who is having one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen a hitter have, if he goes off against either the Astros or maybe if he goes off against Boston, that could really be a big, big thing for this Texas Rangers squad. And then the Gardos, they have 3 games in Detroit starting this week. They've also got 3 in Minnesota right after that, then 3 games at home against Detroit, and then finish up the season with 3 games against the Rangers. Every single game matters so much from this point out. I mean, every game is so incredibly must win, and the Rangers having, 6 games between now and the end of the season. Half of their games are against teams that are just flat out of it and frankly not all that great. I mean, the Marlins, they had their scrappy moments, and I hope the Rangers don't have problems against them this weekend. They've got 2 off days between now and the end of this season, sandwiching that series against the Marlins. Would rather have had an off day now, honestly. Have that Monday off before the series against the Seattle or against the Houston Astros, and just give your bullpen that extra day off, give your rotation that extra day to kind of rest and reset. They're going to get Tyler Mahle back at some point. I believe it'll be that series against the Miami Marlins. We will hopefully see a fantastic Tyler Mahle and be able to augment this rotation just a little bit, add that guy in there, maybe move Jacob Latz back to the pen, or maybe Patrick Corbin moves to more of a long relief role and the Rangers call somebody up from AAA to just have that extra arm for leverage spots in the pen. I don't know exactly what they're going to do at this point, but the Rangers had themselves in a good spot. It would be a slightly better spot had they been able to finish off the sweep, but it feels pretty greedy to keep asking for sweep after sweep after sweep. But when there's 12 games left, I'm not saying the Rangers need a 12-game winning streak to make the postseason. They probably need a 12-game winning streak between now and the end of this year to win the AL West, maybe just a 10-game winning streak. But in order to make the postseason, there are so many teams that are so incredibly hot right now, so many good teams, even ahead of the Rangers. The Astros have been falling off. Hopefully they continue to just fall and fall and fall, and maybe Seattle will trip over themselves. Honestly, my ideal scenario is the Rangers win the AL West and both these other AL West teams do not make the postseason, because I don't want the Rangers to just make that last postseason spot to only go up to Seattle and get swept there. If it meant the Astros missed the postseason, then maybe I'd be fine with it. But this is a tough stretch between now and the end of the season. It is go time. It is time now. This is a huge, fun, exciting opportunity for these Texas Rangers to hopefully, if the Rangers sweep the Astros right now, the Astros will be out of a postseason spot entirely. Out of a postseason spot entirely. And this Texas Rangers squad hates the Houston Astros. I, as a Rangers fan, hate the Houston Astros. I'm sure you, as a Rangers fan, hate the Houston Astros. And it would be nothing more delightful in this entire world for the Rangers to be able to put a nail in the coffin of the Houston Astros just totally missing the postseason. That's on the table this week, as are many other things. It is go time. The time is now, and I cannot freaking wait. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy Texas Rangers baseball.